Hi, and welcome back to Friday Reflections with myself, Father Sean Loomis. Did you know that today is our last video log? I know it's crazy, right? I mean, up until now, we've done 17 different videos on the Creed. So, first of all, I just want to thank you for following along with me. But if you haven't had a chance to see all the videos, maybe you missed one or two and you want to see the others, listen, don't worry about it. You can find them online on the internet. If you just look for them, you'll see all of them pop up. Now, also, much later in the fall, I'm going to begin a whole new video series. So, look forward to that, all right? Okay, I'll see you then for that. Now, as far as today goes, what we're going to discuss is the last line of the Creed, which says, I believe in the resurrection of the dead and the life of the world to come. Now, myself, I've experienced a lot of people who have this impression that heaven is when we die and our body breaks down, but the soul, leaving the body, goes up to heaven. Okay, sort of, but not really hitting it. If you remember, Christ himself, as Christians believe, myself and yourself, Christ himself died and his body was buried in the tomb, right? And the soul descended down into hell. But just a little bit later, about 3 days, his soul rose back up and entered into his body. And the body and the soul together rose from the dead. And then eventually the body and the soul ascended into heaven. So what that means for us and what we believe is that the body and the soul will again be united, and that we will be fully human forever in heaven, which is exactly why it's so important for Christians to bury their dead. Unfortunately, I just see again and again and again when family members will cremate their beloved, and with the ashes, what they'll do with them is that they'll put them into a bucket or some sort of a container, and then they'll go out into the ocean on a boat and they'll throw the ashes over the side. And really, that's just not respectful because it comes from misunderstanding. The body is important, which is why it's important that we bury the body, so that when Jesus comes on the last day and the body resurrects again, it will be united to the soul. And so when we bury the body, that's what we wait for. Now, the good news is that we will get our body again. Now, I know sometimes people say, wow, I'm not really the happiest with my body. I might be a little bit overweight. I have a hard time walking, whatever it may be. Hey, don't worry about it, because the body that God's going to give us again is going to be entirely new. It's going to be glorious, unlike the one that we have now. So, myself, I'm looking forward to that. Now, the second part of this line of the Creed says, I believe in the life of the world to come, which begs the question, what is heaven going to be like? You know, sometimes people have this image that we're all just going to be up in heaven sitting on a cloud and dining on grapes in a very leisurely way. But the reality is no. I mean, if you sort of scour the scriptures, there's all these images of heaven, and the images themselves explain that there's just going to be people everywhere. It's going to be filled, and they're all going to bow down and lie prostrate, row after row after row, worshiping God and the heavenly Lamb, singing his praises continuously, and the angels are going to be surrounding and singing along with us and blowing the trumpet blasts and many other such things. Now, to get a real image of heaven, you notice that it's a lot like Mass. Oh, okay, you don't believe me? Well, if you open up the Bible and read the book of Revelation, which is the last book in the Bible, Revelations explains that it's basically this ginormous liturgy. all of the world will, at that point, in the end of time, worship God, which is a little bit funny because sometimes people will say to me, "Oh, Father, I don't go to Mass really, honestly, because it's just so boring. But I can't wait to go to heaven and be with God forever." And I think, really? Well, if you can't worship God here on earth because you think it's boring, then how are you suddenly going to change and want to do so in heaven? I mean, what do you think it is that we do up there? So clearly this person just doesn't understand, right? Now, for ourselves, if we want to prepare ourselves in the best way possible for heaven, then it makes sense we would go to Mass now, right? And just connect with God by our prayer and by loving Him always with a full heart. Okay, thank you for joining me here on the Friday Reflections. And I hope that in some way these videos were helpful to you getting deeper in your faith and your relationship with God. Continue to keep your eyes peeled on the internet for more information in the future about videos that will come. And then I hope to see you again in the fall. God bless you. Bye.